Everybody, welcome to Balkan Moto. It's time we finish the road legal worthiness of the bobber. Let's make a license plate holder. Alright, so this is kind of what we're working with in terms of mounting points. And after a little bit of deliberation on how I need to make a bracket mount to this, I figured the simplest and easiest way is actually to make use of the fact that these brackets that the blue collar bobbers fender kit came with are nice and squared at the back. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna make a cut out a piece of metal that has a hole in it, essentially, that will mount between this bracket and the fender bracket onto this bolt, that will have a 90-degree bend with it, that will go flush with the flat side here, so that it won't be able to rotate up or down. It will just stay still. That will come out this way, and then to it we're going to weld a bigger piece of metal that will have essentially the mounting holes for the license plate and a hole for the license plate light. So let's take off this bracket so we can take some measurements and see what materials we need. Alright, so here's the bracket piece from Blue Collar Bobbers. I measured out the offset of the hole to the edge, and this thickness is also actually important. I've missed that, but either way, the plan is that we're going to use this leftover piece of metal. This is what is that, 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to cut it so that it kind of overlaps like this with the hole on the inside. I'm going to drill the same 3/8 hole on it. Then we're going to bend it at 90 degrees, so much like you see here. So that piece will kind of get tucked in behind this bracket, so it's like that. And it'll fold upwards and stick out this way. And then for the plate, we're going to make another metal plate from the 16 gauge steel there that will essentially have the exact same shape with this extra loop on top, so kind of be like that. Having the plate, and you'll have a little thing like that on top of it, and this will actually have a light that lights up the plate. Now this plate and the bracket will be welded together. I still haven't decided where the bracket will get welded on the back of this, so either it will be kind of smack in the middle like so, or it might be a bit lower or a bit higher. The deciding factor for that will be where this plate ends up sitting once mounted. So if it's too high, it might end up blocking the tail light. If it's too low, it might end up scraping when you lean hard. So we've got to find that perfect spot for it. First though, let's get this piece of metal drilled and then bent at 90 degrees. Or maybe I'll bend it first, then I'll drill it so that the hole and the corner line up more perfectly. And then we'll see how much of the remaining metal we actually need and if we need to trim any. And then we're going to trace this onto the 16 gauge, cut that out, grind it to shape, and then see how we're going to weld the two together. Alright, and the first bracket is good. Here you go. I bent it pretty much using the vise and just kind of hammered it a little bit and bent it 90 degrees. It's not obviously perfect 90 degrees, but that's actually fine because the edge that it created there is enough for it to get anchored, and essentially I will kind of sit like this where this bracket will line up with the hole like so and keep it in place from rotating up and down. And even if it does, the
amount of angle it can rotate is very little. So before I move on to making the second bracket, let's do a little test fit of this just to see how far this sticks out, how much room it gives us in terms of do we need to trim it, yeah. All right, and this is kind of a paper clipped version. So looking at the fitment, it seems like I could get away with actually mounting it on top. So this actually opens up a little bit of an opportunity here where the second plate that I can make actually doesn't need to be welded to the main metal bracket, but instead I'll just drill the 2 holes for the bolts here and here, and then have the same lined up holes for that bracket, which will then have the other 2 holes on top to create that extra stability for the plate. So the other plate will just essentially be bolted on. It doesn't need to be welded. Yeah, and this seems to be high off the floor, or higher at least than the peg. So lean angle shouldn't be affected. It doesn't, even at this low, which nothing really sits this low, you can see the tail light. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna mark up those holes and drill them. This little bit at the end we're gonna trim. And yeah, I think that should give us the plate that we need to make the bracket that we want. So let's mark this up, trim it here, and cut out the other bracket, which will kind of match the shape of the license plate, and go from there. Okay, the main bracket is done. We have the bottom 2 holes. One is wider, just so it can line up the plate better. The edge is rounded, so it lines up with the shape of the license plate itself. The bend is there, so just literally go boop and mount it on there. Now let's trace out the other bracket on the 16 gauge metal and cut that out, and that should be pretty much it in terms of fabrication. Then we'll just need to give them spray with black gloss just to kind of match everything else. And I still need to purchase the little light for the license plate, and we're good to go. All right, and here's the backing plate for the license plate. I made the 3/8 holes just so I have a little more space, and has a little groove on top for the light. So this will essentially kind of sit like that on the other bracket, and the plate will be up on it. So let's just get a test fit on the bike, see how things look. And then I'm gonna go order some lighting for this, and I'm gonna spray paint these, and this will be it. All right, and this is what it looks like test fitted on the bike. It actually looks super clean. I do need to get some matching bolts, or potentially just buy 4 new ones. I think I have some plastic ones, but we'll see. I'll get that on there, and I just need the light bulb for the top. I think I'm gonna probably end up using the same type of bolt light for the top that I did on the Cafe Racer tail light. Just a single one instead of 2. And just run the wire, kind of following the swing arm and tucking it under and plugging it into the harness where we made the plug last time. So this is it. We have more or less a roadworthy bike. I'm gonna spare you guys the painting of the bracket.
and the wiring of the little light bulb, which would be just a ground and a 12-volt wire. So yeah, this will be it for this episode. Alright guys, the license plate holder has been built. The bike is pretty much roadworthy. Unfortunately, the temperature outside has dropped to 8 degrees Celsius. So riding season is pretty much over. So I won't get to actually test ride it this season, but that just means that we get more work done over the winter before the next riding season. Make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell for notifications when new videos become available. In the next few episodes, we're going to start focusing on the motor and cleaning up some of the mechanisms on it and getting some more performance out of it, potentially cleaning up the carburetors. So that's all going to be interesting stuff. Check me out on Instagram at Balkan Moto 2018 and make sure to check out balkanmoto.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.